Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're going to fix breakfast, and we're not just any breakfast, a nice fancy breakfast, but with a southern twist. So today the first thing we're going to start with is one of my most favorite recipes, and this is so simple, so very simple, and it involves thick sliced bacon, brown sugar, cracked pepper, and an oven. That's all there is to it. Not much of a recipe, but the results are outstanding. So what I have here is a parchment lined sheet pan, and I've got a cooling rack, and that's what we're going to put our bacon on. And we're just going to layer our bacon strip by strip. And I'm going to tell you, if you've never had roasted bacon before, you're in for a treat, because it is absolutely amazing, and you will never fry bacon again. It is that good. And usually about 8 or 9 slices will fit on this. Of course, it all depends on how big your bacon is. Some's sliced a little bit larger, and the slab's a little bit larger. So we're going to try to nestle in. I think I've got about 9 strips here, and I'm going to try to fit in one more, because there ain't no sense in letting that piece of bacon lie. Not at all. All right, so I'll kind of spread this out just a little. All right, now it looks like we're about set. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle with a little bit of black pepper. It's going to give it just a little bit of heat, and this is fresh cracked black pepper, and that's always what I recommend. If you can even buy it already done like this in the store, or you can buy a little pepper mill and crack your own pepper. This right here I actually got, it's actually bourbon smoked black pepper, so has just a little bit of smoky and a little bit of hint of bourbon flavor in it. I love to buy spices and stuff that's been smoked or a little bit transformed in its own way. Makes it really good. So continue to sprinkle all of this with the bacon, or with the pepper on the bacon. Now, if you don't like pepper, you can omit this step, but this is just something I really like. It gives it a little bit extra flavor. And you can also buy bacon. I know Schwan's sells it. You can find it in some of your grocery stores where they already have the black pepper kind of on the sides. And if you have that, that's fine. You don't need to use any more. Now, the next thing we're going to use is brown sugar. I'm using dark brown sugar, but if you have light brown, that's perfectly fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle the bacon liberally with the brown sugar. And what this is going to do is create a wonderful glaze on top of the bacon. And basically what we're making is bacon candy. And I wish you could see one of my producers licking her lips right now, because she knows this is going to be good. But we're going to continue to sprinkle this. And of course, brown sugar, dark brown sugar just means it's got a little bit more molasses in it than light brown. And hey, you can add a little bit more. I say go for it. So you can kind of see how we're doing this. And what's going to happen is when this hits the oven, the heat from the oven is going to cause this sugar to kind of melt, and it's going to spread out all across that bacon. And I don't think I mentioned it, but you need to put this in a preheated oven at 425 degrees. Let it get preheated really good. And then by the time you get your bacon prepared, your oven should be ready to go. One of my most favorite meals of the day is breakfast. And I love breakfast for supper. That's one of my most favorite things. My mother would fix us breakfast for supper, and my dad was the omelet master. And if you could catch him home, because he was pretty busy, but if you could catch him home, he'd make us an omelet, and you'd have biscuits and gravy. Oh, so good. All right, so as you can see, we've got our brown sugar all over our bacon, our cracked pepper, and now we're going to put it in a preheated oven, and we're going to let this roast for about 20 to 25 minutes. And basically what you're going to look for, it's going to look crisp and just really good and done, and it's going to be perfect. So when we come back, we're going to be making some homemade biscuits. Now we're going to make some homemade biscuits. And I have probably made 25, 30 different biscuit recipes trying to just get the one I like. And my most favorite biscuit in the world that you can buy commercially is at Hardee's. I love their biscuits. I love everything about them. I love the crunch that you have when you bite into it. I love the fluffiness of it, and I love how buttery it tastes. So I wanted to try to mimic Hardee's, but I still wanted to have my own little flavor. So I come up with this. You take 2.5 cups of self-rising Hudson cream flour. There's no other flour to try. Hudson cream is the one you want to use. And to that, we're going to add a 1/2 stick of cubed butter. Now I've put this into a little bit of cubes. That way it'll kind of break up a lot easier when we use our pastry cutter here in a minute. And to that, we're going to add 3/4 cup of lard. Lard. Oh yeah, I said it. Lard. And you know, lard was kind of taboo back in the 90s, early 2000s. But they've actually been looking at lard here lately, and it's actually pretty good for you. If you buy a lard that doesn't have a lot of additives added to it, if it's just pure country lard, straight from the hog, it's really good for you. And your doctors nationwide are saying it's okay to eat it. But that's what you need to look for. So now that we have our fat ingredients into the flour, we're going to work it in with our pastry cutter. And if you don't have a pastry cutter, you can use a fork. If you've got a stand mixer, you can put this in a stand mixer with a paddle attachment. And what you want to do is you want to work the shortening and flour in, or the shortening and the flour together, and basically you want the butter and the shortening to kind of resemble peas, about the size of peas. And that's when you'll know that it's been really worked in. You just move the flour all around the bowl, work that in. Every now and then you gotta clean off your pastry cutter. Just use your fingers and then just work that in just like so. If you've got a lot of transgression you need to get it out of your system, cutting this flour in will definitely do it. All right, so now you can kind of see that our flour and shortening and butter mixture, you can see kind of what we're going for. You can kind of see that it's about the size of peas. So I'm going to stop right here with that. And we're going to put in 3/4 of a cup of milk. And what I'm going to do is kind of make a little well for our milk. Pour the whole thing in. And then we're going to just hand mix it and work everything into that milk. My mother makes biscuits, and when she makes those, she actually puts a lot more milk in hers and kind of makes it really sticky dough. And then she drops them by the spoonfuls onto her baking sheet, and we call them spoon biscuits, or you can call them drop biscuits. But she would make those a lot when we were growing up. So, get down to it, there's always just a little bit of flour that won't work in, so get in there with your hands, kind of work it in yourself. All right. This is a good time to kind of knead it. You'll want to knead your dough, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 times. It's just better if you do it in the dough or in the bowl. All right. So now I'm going to take, I've got a little mat here, and you probably see it. I'm going to put just a little bit of flour. This is called a Raoul pat. It's from DeMarle. You have some people that sell DeMarle at home locally, and you can get one of these mats from them. It's really wonderful. Hardly anything sticks to it at all, and it's easy to clean up, and you're not messing your counters up something horrible either. So we're going to roll this out to about a 1/2 inch thick. And I usually will turn to kind of help me get it rolled out to the proper thickness. All right. So now I've got a biscuit cutter here. By all means, if you don't have a biscuit cutter, use a glass. Just make sure you dip it in flour so your dough doesn't stick to it. This dough will make approximately 12 biscuits. And then just put them on. And I use a dark baking pan for biscuits. I find that the lighter pans don't get the bottoms as brown. And I just think a darker pan bakes better if you're trying to bake biscuits. So use a dark one if you have one, and if you don't, you may have to just adjust your cooking time just ever so slightly. All right, I'm going to rework our dough scraps. And usually there's no proper way to do this other than I just get it together, kind of squeeze it a couple times, and pat that back out. And I really just need one more biscuit to fill this up. All right. You want to give them an inch, inch and a half space from one another. It's all in just preference on how you want to do it. Most people squeeze them into a cast iron pan. But right now we're going to put this into a preheated 425 degree oven, and we're going to bake them for about 18 to 20 minutes or until they're golden brown. And oh, you can see that brown sugar bacon in there. Looking really good. So when we come back, we're going to show you the secrets to making gravy. All right, our brown sugar roasted bacon is done. And we're going to take it out. I'm just going to let it sit. But you can see how wonderful that looks. I'm also going to move my biscuits on up to the middle here. They're rising very nicely. And we're going to let this cool for about 3 to 4 minutes, just until it stops bubbling, and then we'll take it off and plate it. All right. I've just fried up some country ham pieces for our biscuits, and that gives us just enough grease to make our gravy. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out, there's really not a specific way to make gravy, really, but I'm going to try to get as close as I can on this. I'm going to start out with maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of oil, and then I'm putting about 3 tablespoons of flour in there. And we're kind of going to just let that brown. And I'm going to get a whisk out here and kind of just work this in. Now, you may be saying right now, oh no, it's going to be lumpy. It's going to be lumpy. It's not going to be lumpy. But we're going to brown all that flour. Anybody can make gravy. It's just a matter of getting it just right. So we got that beautiful brown color. So we're going to add a pinch of salt, a pinch of cracked pepper to it. We want our seasonings to hit the heat. Make sure all of that flour is cooked down. And I'm on about a medium heat right now too. So now we're going to add our milk. And we'll start with about a cup of milk and work our way on up to about a cup and a half. To a cup and 2/3 of milk. And we just whisk away. And as you can see, there's no lumps. Definitely don't want lumpy gravy. But I know the first time I made this, and I had a friend of mine watching me, and she was like, oh no, you're going to have the most horrible lumps ever. I'm like, no, I'm not. Have faith. And basically you just kind of stir and you just wait for the heat to do its thing. You can already see that the gravy's getting thicker. And basically you just gotta get it to the consistency that you like. Some people like gravy that's thicker than others. Of course, you know, as it sets, it's going to get a little bit thicker too. Here's about the consistency that I like. And this is enough gravy for about 3 to 4 people, what I just made just now. Of course, you can double this recipe to feed a bigger crowd. And that right there is our milk country gravy. When we return, we'll be getting the biscuits out of the oven, and then we'll be doing our scrambled eggs. It's time to take our biscuits out. Very nice and brown. Now, as soon as they come out of the oven, take some butter. Just brush over them. Just like so. Hear that little sizzle? It just means they're perfect biscuits, the way I look at it. We'll brush these, we'll let these cool for about 5 minutes, and they'll be ready to eat. Now I'm going to show you the secret to really good upscale scrambled eggs, and you really don't spend a whole lot of money either. First thing we're going to start out with is some flat leaf parsley. And basically we're just going to cut it up here with our knife. I removed the stems earlier. And I'm going to give you a little knife lesson 101. You see how you just hold the end of the knife here and just kind of, this really never leaves the board. You just raise the back half up and you'll get a perfect chop every time. All right. So now our parsley is all chopped. Kind of spread that to the side. And now I've got some chives. And we just want to, chives can be a little bit tough, so you might have to, you can either use some snips, kitchen snip scissors, or just guide your knife. You still want these to be properly minced. And this is going to introduce a wonderful onion flavor in our eggs. Now, if you're not wild about an onion flavor, just use the parsley. That's perfectly fine. All right, that's probably enough. These chives are pretty potent. So now that we've got all that ready, to my pan, I'm going to put this on in between medium and low heat. To cook eggs properly, you definitely want to do it under low heat. Proteins burn at a higher temperature, so we definitely want to kind of watch that, and to have perfect scrambled eggs every time, low heat is the key. So we're going to melt, we got about a tablespoon of butter, and we're going to allow that to melt. I'll probably increase my heat just a little so we can get that butter melted. Then I'll immediately turn it back down once we do. While that's melting, we're going to get our eggs ready. I've got 6 eggs already cracked in the bowl. You always want to plan, even if you're scrambling eggs, frying eggs, you want to plan on at least 2 eggs per person. All right, now that we've got them broken up, I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of milk. You can use half and half if you have it. Heavy cream. It doesn't really matter. You just want that creaminess and a little bit of that fat that comes from that cream. It's kind of going to raise it to a whole nother level. All right, we're going to add a pinch of salt and a pinch of fresh cracked pepper. Stir that in. And then to this mixture, we're going to add our herbs. And I'm going to reserve just a little bit of those for when our scrambled eggs do come out. And we're going to just kind of whisk them in. They're in really good with our eggs. All right. So our butter is right now just about melted. And we'll turn our stove down just a little, and now we're going to add our eggs to the pan. All right. And basically, if we don't break any dishes, now you just wait. And my grandmother Thelma, when she made scrambled eggs, she was always pushing them toward the center, back out. And you know, I never really asked why she did that, but I do it and it makes good eggs, so that's what I'm going with. You can easily double this recipe, use a whole carton of eggs, just add a little bit more of your herbs. You can also use other herbs. I've used basil in with the eggs. The basil is really good. You don't want to go with a really hearty herb like a rosemary, because it's a little bit tough, and you definitely don't want that in with, if you're trying to make some creamy eggs. You definitely don't want to bite into something really tough. So we're just going to continue to cook these eggs, like I said, under low heat. Continue to push in and out. And here in a moment, you're going to see this come together nicely. All right, as you can see, our eggs are coming together pretty nicely. Just kind of move them in and out. Just continue to stir. Those look so good. And the good thing about these is, you know, a lot of people think to get creamy scrambled eggs, you got to put all this cheese and all this stuff in it. You don't. It's all about the cooking temperature, and it's all about the little bit of fat that you put in it to make it all come together. All right. So we're right now done. I'm going to plate these, and when we come back, we'll have everything ready to eat. I am ready to dig in. My mouth is watered since I put the bacon in the oven. So we have our brown sugar bacon, our creamy milk gravy over our biscuits. Of course, I also put a little piece of ham with a biscuit too to eat, and then our herb scrambled eggs, which is oh so good. I'm gonna take a bite. You have no idea how good that is. You can taste the chives, that parsley. They are so creamy. Try some of the biscuits and gravy here. Gravy is just perfect. The perfect brownness of that flour and seasonings. Perfect thickness. And then you got to have candy for breakfast. Oh gosh, you all have no idea. I could eat a platter of this by myself. As always, our recipes are available on our Mountain Telephones Facebook page. We'll have the link set up. You can also go to the Mountain Telephone website at mrtc.com, click on MTTV, and then click the recipes link, and that'll have the recipes from all of our shows. I'm David Bradley, and thank you for joining me for breakfast this morning. I hope you'll try these recipes, and I hope you love them. Goodbye.